Wow, that was some bit of fun with Steve Lally, and he's gone off about his business of entertaining the children over the whole Christmas time. But Christmas too is a time of some seriousness in certain situations. And these are situations which Eileen Murphy of Women's Aid knows all about.
That's it, yeah.
You don't get any holidays from the trauma and the suffering and the rescuing of women.
No, that's a continuous job to be done all the time. Refuge operates on 24/7, women and children, where there's no other safe place for them except for the refuge. So, yes, it goes on when everybody else is partying.
Put it in a context. How many people are you looking after at the moment in the refuge in Newry?
We'll have 11 women.
11?
11 women and their children. But I think the
Now,
more...
at this
yes,
moment?
the refuge is full all the time, Rowan. A bed will come free and within a matter of hours it's filled. A bedroom, you know.
And these are women who are quite literally at the end of their tether.
Well, there are women who there's no other safe place for them. You know, it's not safe for them to remain in the home. It's not safe for their children. I mean, going into refuge is not an easy option for a woman.
No, it's not.
I mean, they leave and their children leave everything that is normal and everyday behind them in their homes. They leave all their favourite items. They leave all their anything that's comforting, and they can't take them into refuge because we're limited space. You have a mother sharing a room with her children, so it's, you know, multiple occupancy house, and it's a whole different environment for women and children to go into. So it's not an easy option.
Is it possible to say how long typically a woman in need of refuge would stay in refuge?
Well, there is a limit. It's crisis support, so it's not a long-term solution. The maximum time anybody can stay in refuge is 2 years.
2 years.
But we would actively be trying to help that woman find her own independent living accommodation outside of refuge from the minute she comes in. That's as part of the process of support, helping her find somewhere that is
But 2
safe.
years isn't bad. It gives you breathing space.
It most certainly does. We would like to see that within 6 months the woman has been able to, through the use of the support services, been able to find accommodation elsewhere. I mean, 6 months would be what we were hoping that need for refuge has been reduced and they can move out into the normal environment. But for some women, it is 2 years.
2 years. And you see, the thing is, when they move out, when the lady moves out with her children back into accommodation, into the more normal environment for her, a more pleasing environment because she can bring some of her things with her and all the rest of it.
Yes.
Is she not immediately subjected to the attentions of the offender in the first place?
Well, there would be a lot of risk assessment done around her moving from refuge into, and we'd work with a lot of partner agencies, work very closely with the housing executive and closely with the police and other support agencies out there. I mean, partnership working is a big part of what we do now. And the whole idea is to reduce the risk as much as possible and put in a very strong safety plan for her and her children so that when she's moving out, we know that it's safe for her to do so. But that's a process of work to be done along with the woman while she's in refuge.
The police are involved here, obviously.
Sometimes, not always, yeah.
When necessary, let's say.
Well, the police will get called in when somebody alerts them.
Yeah.
But as anybody worked in the field of domestic sexual violence, they will know an awful lot of this happens and it's not called to anybody's attention.
But if you put a lady, if you help a lady find a home in the community again and she moves to it, is it not possible to ring the police or email the police and say, Mrs. X and her 2 children are now living at 24 Y Street and she has been abused in the past, she's now at some ongoing risk. Will you keep an eye out? And do they?
It doesn't work like that, and the police are very busy as well. What we will do is, if there's a risk around her moving out, then that has to be assessed and has to be managed. If there is a risk happens when she's out there and she's okay, we will alert the police, and the police will do like a drive round if necessary. Sometimes they have to do that round refuge because a particular perpetrator has decided that his wife or partner's in refuge and they will come and attack the refuge. So
Does
the
that
police,
happen often?
It happens often enough for it to be a serious problem. But, you know, we manage it. That's part of the risk that we manage. And the police are very supportive in that, and they will come to the refuge and they do actively help us and support us in that way.
Christmas, is it a more busy time for you?
Well, like I say, there's the demand on our services always exceeds our ability to be able to. So this isn't a Christmas time issue, but it most certainly becomes more prominent at Christmas time. And a lot of that is high expectations of what Christmas will be, you know, the dream of Christmas in the family home, and then nothing really changes. Just because it's Christmas Day doesn't change the nature of the perpetrator. His wife or partner is still in danger from him. His children are still suffering. He doesn't change because it's Christmas Day. He might change for a few hours. He might alter his behaviour. He might speak in a more manly fashion and not be so abusive verbally. But that doesn't last because
apart from anything else, there's the possibility of imbibing alcohol at Christmas and whatever, and that exacerbates the situation.
Well, alcohol, if it's the nature of a person to be abusive, alcohol will, of course, free up any sort of ethical controls he has himself and allow him to do things. What alcohol will do, Rowan, is will it mean where it might have been roaring and screaming and shouting, it now becomes kicking and punching and bone breaking. Or where it might have been kicking and punching and bone breaking, it becomes stabbings, or worse, or rape, or a whole combination of things. So what alcohol does, it enables the perpetrator to use alcohol as the excuse and perpetrate very, very violent acts against the woman.
Is there much of it going on?
There's an awful lot of it going on.
In this town, in this city?
Yes.
Are we talking a dozen? Are we talking...
You're talking hundreds, and maybe even thousands, but you're talking a lot of it.
On an ongoing basis?
On a continuous basis, yes.
So you look out across the valley of Newry, you can be reasonably well assured that in that vista, you've got hundreds of women who are in jeopardy.
Absolutely, yes. 1 in every 4 women. So if you take a group of women, for every 4 women you have, 1 of them women is likely to be a victim of domestic and sexual violence and abuse.
Eileen, what's this doing to the children?
Well, of course it impacts on the children. The children either directly because they step in between mum and dad and try to help mother, or that indirectly where they're up in their bedrooms and they're listening to it all downstairs, or they're in the next room. But it does impact on them. And it has, but that's why we have our children and young people's team to work with children and to work with children and the mothers to look at what has happened to their relationship because of the domestic violence that was put to them by someone else, by the perpetrator. Yeah. Their relationship gets fractured and gets damaged and wounded because of his violence.
If you have a steady stream of women in refuge, and there are hundreds being abused across the valley of the city, is there an equal and opposite steady stream of perpetrators being brought to court? No. Why?
Well, quite often the criminal justice process is a long and difficult process for victims. And when what we're asking some of the most vulnerable people, the victims of domestic and sexual violence, to put the father of their children in court. And that's a very, very difficult situation. Lots of pressures comes to bear on a woman whenever that sort of scenario arises. First of all, she has to tell more and more strangers about very intimate personal details. And the shame and the guilt of that stops her from doing it. The other things, lots of victims feel that really this is nothing and it's their fault, and they, you know, if only they had done things in a different way. His control of her is so strong that she will see this as something that she's doing wrong, and that, well, this is what happens when she doesn't get it right. So it's a very difficult process for women to go down the criminal justice route. And
then should it not be taken out of her hands, in a sense, that element of it, that she shouldn't be subjected to those pressures, that if there is evidence of injury, if there is evidence of having sought refuge, that the police can act independently of the woman based on that evidence and bring someone in for questioning?
Well, yes, they can do, but it's not how it happens in most cases. And unless the woman's willing to make a statement and follow through with the prosecution, and then she'll have his mother on her back with it, she'll have his family, she'll have her children saying, don't do this to daddy, she'll have her own family saying, you know, don't put this out in public knowledge, keep it private.
It's a mess.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation for a victim, very, very difficult.
Now, you've been working in this field for a long time now. has it got significantly better for the victim?
In what way?
In that now, from the time you started, is there less of it occurring, and that which is occurring is being made amenable under the law more readily and more quickly?
There's not less of it occurring, and this is a sort of a. Most people look at less crime means it's getting sorted. What we would say is, the more people who are reporting to the police, that's a good indicator that women are more willing to come forward and report. The reduction of repeat victimisation is a much better indicator that this is reducing, because and often women will be abused time and time and time again. They will have violent beatings right throughout their lives with these perpetrators. So if we can step in there at some stage and help her put a safety plan and risk management into it and reduce the opportunity for him to re-victimise her, then that's a much better indicator. So what I would be encouraging is women to report to Women's Aid or to report to the police, get it out there, and then get the help that they can get. There is help there for women and help for children and young people that'll prevent them becoming a victim the second, third, fourth, fifth time around.
Well, I wish you good luck.
Thank you.
Well, you're a saint doing what you do.
No.
No, you're
Not at all.
Well, you're a saint for the women who come, your organisation, and you support them and you lift them out of the morass.
It's not Eileen Murphy. There's a whole team of women that are supporting women. So there's
Eileen,
a whole team.
God bless you.
Thank
Go
you
well.
very much.
Take care.
Thank you.
Music, sir.
I saw 3 ships come sailing in on Christmas Day, on Christmas Day.